My husband confessed to cheating during our couples therapy session. Now I found out the therapist was his mistress the whole time. I'm a 34-year-old woman named Kayla, and last month, I found out that the woman who'd been guiding me through my marriage's darkest moments, helping me fight for us, helping me understand my triggers, helping me forgive my husband for cheating, was actually the person he cheated with. Yes. My therapist. The woman I cried in front of. The one who asked me about my childhood trust issues. The one who helped me rebuild safety in a home that never felt safe again. She was sleeping with my husband. And I paid her $150 an hour to help him process it. We'd been married 8 years. No kids. I wanted them. He said he did too. But something always got in the way: work, finances, not the right time. Looking back, I think that was the first lie I swallowed to keep the peace. His name is Marcus. Charming, well-spoken, funny in that dry, deadpan way that makes strangers trust him instantly. People always said we were the perfect couple. And we were, online. But inside, we were crumbling. He worked late. Disappeared on weekends. I found strange receipts once, flowers I didn't get. Hotel charges for dates I didn't remember. He always had explanations: corporate gifts, client stays, vendor dinners. I wanted to believe him. Until one night, he came home drunk and distant, sat on the edge of the bed, and said, "I cheated." Just like that. No tears. No emotion. Just a cold fact dropped in my lap. I remember exactly what I did. I got up. Walked to the sink. Threw up. Then I asked, "Who?" He didn't answer. He said it was a mistake. That it didn't mean anything. That it happened once. I threatened divorce. He begged. He said he wanted to fix it. And that's when he suggested therapy. Her name was Marissa Caldwell. Soft voice. Calming energy. Minimalist office with neutral tones and a framed quote behind her desk: "It's not what breaks you. It's what you do after." Marcus had found her through a friend. She was professional. Warm. I cried during our second session, and she handed me a tissue with a smile that felt safe. She told me I was brave. That betrayal cracks the foundation, but doesn't have to destroy the house. She asked thoughtful questions. How did I handle anger? Had I ever been cheated on before? What did I fear most about being left? I answered all of it. Honestly. Week after week. Meanwhile, Marcus sat across from me, nodding at all the right times, rubbing my back in the waiting room, thanking me for trying. He said he wanted to rebuild. I believed him. We went to Marissa for 6 months. And for a while, it felt like it was working. Marcus came home earlier. Started cooking dinner. Suggested weekend getaways. He even bought me flowers, not the kind he'd secretly gotten for someone else, but actual, deliberate gestures. Then, in our 20th session, he did something unexpected. He looked me in the eye and said, "There's something I haven't told you." My chest tightened. I turned to Marissa, expecting her to guide him through it like usual. But she just stared. He continued, "The affair wasn't a one-time thing. It lasted almost a year. I ended it before we started therapy." Silence. I looked at Marissa. She wasn't taking notes. She wasn't blinking. She just said, "Thank you for your honesty, Marcus." I stared at both of them. My hands were shaking. "Who was she?" I asked. "Do I know her?" Marcus glanced at Marissa. Then looked away. "No," he said. "Just someone from work." That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the way they interacted during that session stuck with me. The weird silence. The way she didn't guide him, didn't ask follow-ups. The way she avoided my eyes when I started crying. I felt something. Not jealousy. Not paranoia. Recognition. Something about the way she looked at him, like she already knew the ending of the story. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through his old phone. Not the one he carries now, his last one. He kept it in a drawer. Claimed it was dead and couldn't be charged. I bought a charger online. Plugged it in. It lit up. And what I found changed everything. Hidden in a folder marked clients were dozens of photos. Screenshots. Messages. Voice notes. One stood out. It was a selfie. Of Marissa. Lying on a hotel bed. Wearing the necklace I gave him for our 5-year anniversary. The caption? Think about me during your session today. I miss being under your desk more than I miss sitting across from it. I don't remember dropping the phone. I only remember the sound it made, like something inside me cracked at the same time. I stared at the screen, frozen, as the message hovered in front of me. Her face, her smirk, the necklace, my necklace. The one I bought for him. She was wearing it like a trophy. Under your desk. I felt physically sick. This wasn't just an affair. This was a violation on a level I couldn't even put into words. I'd poured my heart out to her. Told her things I'd never told anyone. My childhood. My fears. My doubts about being enough for Marcus, and the whole time she was sleeping with him. I spent the entire night going through the rest of the phone. He'd used a secondary messaging app, Wicker. I had no idea it existed before that night. Most of the conversations were gone, but some photos and voice notes were still cached. One of the voice notes was her. Marissa. I hate sitting across from her and pretending she's not the reason you're hurting. She's so fragile it's almost funny. You're doing the right thing by staying. She'd fall apart on her own. I think I stopped breathing. She didn't just lie to me. She mocked me. She listened to my trauma, took my tears, and used them as fuel to push Marcus closer to her. Another message from her said, I love how easy it is to guide her. She wants to believe so badly. It's like watching someone beg to be gaslit. The worst part? I paid her. Every session. Every hour she spent sitting across from us pretending to be neutral, pretending to care. I was funding her affair. Funding her betrayal. Funding her access to every vulnerable piece of me. I sat on the kitchen floor with his old phone in one hand and my wedding ring in the other. And I broke. When Marcus came home the next day, I was waiting for him. No yelling. No tears. I just said, I know it was her. His face went blank. Still. Like he knew this day might come, but not this soon. He didn't deny it. Not right away. He sat down. Took a breath. Then said, how? That's all. Not I'm sorry. Not it's not what you think. Just how? I showed him the phone. The necklace photo. The voice note. His expression barely changed. He rubbed his eyes. Quietly. Then said, it ended before we started therapy. It wasn't like that. Like what? I asked him. It wasn't a game, she loved me. I didn't ask her to be our therapist, she offered. Said it would help you feel safe again. I felt my throat tighten. So she helped me feel safe, after you destroyed my safety, while she was the reason I didn't feel safe. He looked ashamed. For a second. Then he said something I'll never forgive. You wanted therapy. You said it would make you trust me again. So I gave you that. I was trying. I laughed. Actually laughed. Because in his mind, this was him trying. He cheated. Got caught. Then recruited his mistress to pose as a neutral professional, just so he wouldn't lose me. Not for love. Not out of guilt. But because he couldn't stand the idea of looking like the bad guy. That night, I packed a bag and left. I stayed with my sister for a few days. Didn't tell her everything right away. Just said we were on a break. But after 3 nights of pretending I was fine, I cracked. I told her everything. Showed her the messages. The photos. The voice notes. She cried more than I did. Then she pulled up Marissa Caldwell's professional page. That's when things got worse. She wasn't a licensed therapist. Not really. She had a master's in counseling from an unaccredited online university. No board certification. No registered practice. Her site was full of vague credentials: trauma-informed, couples specialist, relationship realignment coach. But nothing that made her legally accountable for what she did. She'd built a fake career helping couples rebuild trust, while actively destroying it from the inside. And it wasn't the first time. We found a Reddit post from 2 years ago. Our marriage counselor crossed the line with my husband. I have proof, but she's not even licensed. What can I do? No names. No confirmation. But the language? Identical. That's when I realized this wasn't a one-time affair. This was her pattern. She targets couples where one person is vulnerable and the other is manipulable. She makes herself indispensable. Then inserts herself emotionally. And sometimes, physically. And if the affair falls apart? She disappears. No accountability. No consequences. I wanted to go nuclear. But how do you report someone who isn't even officially real? My sister reached out to a local legal clinic. They said if she advertised herself as a therapist without credentials, she could be liable for fraud or misrepresentation, but only if she charged for clinical services under a protected title. Turns out, she didn't call herself a therapist in her terms. She called herself a healing facilitator. Just enough to slip through the cracks. I felt powerless. But I wasn't done. If the law couldn't stop her, maybe the truth could. So I started writing. Every detail. Every session. Every time she twisted my words or redirected my anger or coached Marcus on being present. And I posted it all, under an anonymous account. The story exploded. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments. People begging for her full name. Others asking if this was about Marissa from San Diego? I didn't confirm anything. I didn't have to. People already knew. I didn't expect the story to blow up the way it did. When I hit post, I just wanted someone, anyone, to read it and say, that wasn't okay. To validate what I already knew in my gut, but had been gaslit out of trusting. But within 48 hours, my anonymous confession had spread far beyond Reddit. People were screen recording it, translating it, reposting it on TikTok and Instagram Reels. One creator made a video with my words laid over soft piano music and a slow zoom on a generic therapy office. The comments underneath were furious. This woman deserves jail. I feel sick. This is next-level manipulation. There's no punishment that fits this kind of betrayal. And then something unexpected happened. Other women started commenting their own stories. Different names. Same structure. I had a couples counselor who got way too close to my husband. He started quoting her in arguments. Mine told me I needed to soften my expectations. Turns out she was dating him. Dozens of women. Different states. But a handful mentioned the same name, Marissa C. I felt a chill I can't explain. One of them messaged me privately. Her name was Tasha. She was from Arizona. 2 years ago, she and her fiancé had done 6 months of premarital counseling with someone named Marissa C. Her fiancé ended things suddenly, said he didn't feel safe, that he'd realized she was emotionally manipulative. Tasha later found messages between him and Marissa. Nothing explicitly romantic. But the tone? Way too intimate. He called her his lighthouse. She called him her warrior. He moved out and ghosted Tasha. She never saw him again. I asked for a photo. She sent one. It was her. Same woman. Same face. Same necklace. I sent it to my sister, who nearly dropped her phone. Then she said something that stuck with me. This woman doesn't fall in love with your husband. She falls in love with the power. She was right. This wasn't just infidelity. This was strategic emotional abuse, disguised as healing. I didn't stop digging. I created a fake email and reached out to Marissa through her booking page. Pretended to be a new client. Told her I was struggling after a breakup, felt disconnected from intimacy, needed guidance. She replied the same day. Sweet. Sympathetic. She even offered a discounted first session. Her tagline in the signature: I help broken souls find their way back to love. I was shaking when I opened the video call. But I wasn't prepared for how normal she looked. No guilt. No fear. Just that same therapist tone she always used. Warm. Gentle. Measured. Hi, I'm Marissa. Thank you for being brave enough to show up today. She didn't recognize me. Or if she did, she didn't let it show. I only lasted 7 minutes before ending the call. But it was enough. I screen recorded the session. Took a screenshot of her name, her profile, the Zoom link. Then I made a new post, this time not anonymous. Still no last names, still no location. But I used my real first name and my real voice. My name is Kayla. This is the woman who helped me heal after my husband cheated, without ever telling me she was the one he cheated with. She's still practicing. Still taking clients. Still doing this. I tagged her site. I didn't say anything defamatory. I just laid out facts. And people went ballistic. Her Instagram disappeared within hours. So did her website. But by then, it was too late. Someone had already cached the site. Others had screenshots. There were mirrors of her services, her pricing page, her client testimonials, all still visible. And in the comment sections of every reposted version of my story, people were asking, how do we stop her? I started hearing from legal experts. One woman, a therapist in Oregon, messaged me and said she broke at least 3 ethical codes. Even if she's not licensed, misrepresenting yourself in clinical settings to manipulate outcomes is reportable. She helped me draft a complaint, not for malpractice, because Marissa technically wasn't licensed, but for fraudulent impersonation of therapeutic care. We submitted it to her local consumer protection board. Then we went public with it. Marcus finally texted me. After a month of silence. You need to stop. You're ruining a woman's life over a mistake. That's what he called it. A mistake. I sent back a single message: you paid her to help fix the damage you both created, while you were still sleeping with her. You think that's a mistake? That's a business model. He never replied. A week later, I got an anonymous package at my sister's house. No name. No return address. Inside, a check for $3,000. A sticky note, for the sessions. I know it doesn't undo it. No signature. But the handwriting was hers. The check sat on my kitchen table for 2 days. I didn't touch it. Just stared at it. $3,000. That was almost the exact amount I'd spent on therapy with her, those weekly sessions where I let Marissa crawl inside my head and rewire my perception of reality. Where I sobbed about my marriage while she sat there with that warm, practiced expression, nodding along, pretending she wasn't the cause of the fire she claimed to help me extinguish. And now she was refunding me. As if that erased anything. I considered cashing it. I really did, but then I imagined what it would feel like to let her repay me for the damage she'd caused. As if this was a transaction. As if her betrayal had a price tag. So I wrote across the check in red Sharpie, "Keep your blood money." Then I took a picture of it. I didn't post it publicly. Not yet. But I wanted her to know, I'm not like your other clients. I don't disappear quietly. That same week, I got an email from another woman. Her name was Naomi. She was older, mid-40s, and had done emotional clarity coaching with Marissa 3 years ago after her divorce. She didn't suspect anything romantic between Marissa and her ex-husband. But the patterns she described were too familiar to ignore. She started subtly challenging my memories. Told me I projected betrayal because I had abandonment wounds. She made me feel like I was the reason he cheated. Naomi said her ex grew increasingly smug during sessions. Marissa kept validating him. Told Naomi to own her contribution to the collapse. By the end, Naomi was apologizing for her own trauma. This was bigger than me and Marcus. Marissa had built an entire career off of exploiting wounded couples, siding with the stronger manipulator, and calling it alignment. She called it clarity, growth, healing. And people bought it. Because who would question the woman sitting across from you with soft lighting and affirmations taped to the wall? I started drafting a full exposé. With help from a journalist friend of my sister's, we compiled testimonials from 7 other women. Cached pages from Marissa's website. Screenshots of messages from ex-clients. An audio recording of a consultation that sounded more like a flirtatious pitch. We changed names. Protected identities. Focused on behavior, not gossip. The article was titled, "The Therapist Who Wasn't: How One Woman Built a Business on Broken Trust." It went live on a Sunday morning. By Monday afternoon, it had over 200,000 views. People started coming out of nowhere. Former classmates of Marissa's. Ex-clients. Even a man who claimed to have dated her years before she started calling herself a therapist. He said she always had a fixation with emotional power. She doesn't fall in love, he wrote. She picks people who are already in crisis. Then she becomes their savior, until they disappoint her. Then she flips. Blames them. Destroys them emotionally and moves on. I got another message from Marcus. This time, it was longer. He said he was sorry I got hurt. That he was confused when he met her. That he never meant to fall for her, but she understood him better than I ever had. That I'd made it impossible to talk about his feelings because I was too angry. I read the whole thing. Then deleted it. Because this wasn't an apology, it was justification. And I'm done with that. One thing stuck with me, though. He said Marissa reached out to him too. Begged him to go public and defend her. Said I was ruining her business. That I was twisting the narrative. That I was weaponizing pain. That's when I knew for sure she wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She just hated being exposed. A week later, her name was trending locally. Fake therapist scandal. Some people defended her. Others tore her apart. She deactivated every account. Vanished. Again. But I didn't stop. I created a support group. Online. Private. For people who've been emotionally manipulated under the guise of therapy or coaching. We called it Uncoached. Within a month, over 500 members joined. Some shared full stories. Others just read silently, finally realizing they weren't alone. And that's what I'd needed, too. Not revenge. Recognition. One night, I got a handwritten card in the mail. Different handwriting this time. Neat. Controlled. It was from one of Marissa's former clients. All it said was, "Thank you for saying what I couldn't." When I started the Uncoached group, I thought maybe 10 people would join. Friends. Strangers. A few people who'd been through something murky with a fake life coach or emotionally abusive therapist. I never expected it to turn into an avalanche. By the end of the second month, we had over 1,400 members. And not just women. Men. Siblings. Adult children whose parents had dragged them into healing retreats with facilitators that turned out to be con artists with good lighting and no training. People who'd been told their grief was low vibration, their trauma was a story they were clinging to, their anger was blocking their healing. And behind every story, there was someone like Marissa. Someone who called themselves a coach, guide, energy worker, intuitive, trauma expert, but whose only real gift was manipulation. One woman in the group, Diana, posted something that sent shivers through the whole feed. She said she recognized Marissa. But not just from the internet. From a wellness retreat in Tulum, Mexico. 3 years ago. She wasn't teaching, Diana wrote. She was studying. Watching people. Listening to women's stories. She told me she was there to learn how to hold space for feminine wounding. She asked too many questions. I thought she was just curious. Now I wonder if she was collecting pain like currency. That line hit me like a gut punch. Collecting pain like currency. That's what it felt like with Marissa. Like the more vulnerable I was, the more valuable I became, not as a client, but as a supply. A tool. A narrative she could shape and insert herself into. I'd spent so long trying to understand why she did it, why a woman would willingly sit across from another woman, week after week, holding her pain in her hands, while secretly being the cause of it. But Diana's story made it click. Marissa didn't just betray me. She fed off me. She needed me to cry in front of her. She needed me to break. To beg. To question myself. Because that kept her in control. I started therapy again. With a real licensed professional. A woman named Dr. Reena Kapoor. Board certified. Trauma informed. No Instagram affirmations. No faux spiritual buzzwords. Just quiet, grounded expertise. At first, I was terrified to open up. Every time she asked a question, I felt myself flinch. Like she might be taking notes for someone else. But over time, something changed. She didn't try to steer me. She didn't act like she already had the answers. She let me rebuild my own voice. And that's when I realized how much of my inner world Marissa had claimed. Not just my marriage, but my sense of reality. Marcus filed for divorce 3 months after I went public. No statement. No drama. Just papers in the mail. I signed them the same day. He didn't ask for anything. Didn't contest. Didn't apologize again. He vanished from my life like a deleted file, just like Marissa had taught him. Then came the part one wasn't prepared for. Rebuilding. Not just my identity, but my trust and connection. How do you let someone close after that? How do you tell a new person that your last therapist was your husband's mistress, and you paid her to destroy you professionally? It sounds like a movie. A bad one. But it happened. To me. And it left a mark. That's when I got a message from someone unexpected. Marissa's sister. She found me through the support group. Quietly. Under an anonymous profile, she didn't defend her. She apologized. Said she'd cut ties with Marissa years ago. Said she wasn't surprised. Then she wrote, "I've spent most of my adult life cleaning up her messes. People always fall for her. They think they're the first one who sees her pain. But she doesn't want help. She wants control. She wants to be adored, even if it means burning people down to stand on the ashes." She ended with, "You weren't the first. But I pray to God you're the last." I cried when I read that. Not because it gave me closure, but because, for once, someone from her world acknowledged the damage. That she wasn't just a misunderstood coach. She was a liar. A manipulator. A woman who weaponized trust like a scalpel. Later that week, Dr. Kapoor asked me, if you could say anything to her, just one thing, what would it be? I didn't even have to think about it. I said, "You didn't break me. You just taught me who never to become." There's something no one tells you about healing after emotional betrayal. It doesn't feel like a breakthrough. It doesn't come in one moment, with music swelling and a camera panning out. It comes in quiet, unremarkable moments. Like finally sleeping through the night without checking the door. Like opening up to someone new and not flinching when they say, "Can I ask you something personal?" Like standing in front of a mirror and realizing, for the first time in months, you don't hate the woman looking back at you. I moved cities 6 weeks ago. Not to run away, but to start over on my own terms. New apartment. New job. New routines. I stopped checking up on Marcus. He no longer exists in my world. No accounts. No memories. Nothing tied to him has power over me anymore. I heard from a mutual friend that he tried dating again. It didn't last. Apparently, he told someone he'd never been fully understood the way Marissa understood him. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's what scared him most, how deeply she saw his darkness and made it feel like devotion. They deserve each other. As for Marissa? I haven't heard a word. Her website's gone, her number's disconnected. And her online footprint is scrubbed so clean you'd think she never existed. But I know she's still out there. Women like her don't vanish. They just change names. Find new cities. Start again. I get messages sometimes, from new profiles, new emails, people wondering if their coach or therapist is the same woman. And each time I gently ask questions. Where did you find her? What does she call herself? Does she push you to distrust your emotions? Does she center herself when you share pain? Does she feel too close too fast? Because that's how it starts. I've learned that abusers don't always scream. Sometimes, they whisper in your ear about growth and alignment while chiseling away at your sense of self. Sometimes they hand you tissues with one hand while lighting the match with the other. And sometimes, they look like healers. The Uncoached group is now over 3,000 members strong. We've created resources. A vetting guide. A database of red flags. Not to name and shame, just to empower. To remind people that being hurt by someone who claims to love or help you doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Last week, I spoke at a virtual conference on therapy ethics and coaching boundaries. I was nervous. My voice shook for the first few minutes. But when I finished, the moderator said, "You just said what thousands have felt and never dared say out loud." And I realized. Maybe that's the purpose in all of this. Not revenge. Not justice. Just truth. I've stopped looking for closure from the people who hurt me. Instead, I found it in the woman who wrote in the support group, "I thought it was my fault. Now I know better. Thank you." And the one who said, "Your story helped me walk out of my own." And in myself, too. Every time I speak without flinching. Every time I trust my voice again. Every time I refuse to accept silence when I know I'm right. Some scars stay. Some triggers linger. But I'm not broken. I'm not angry. I'm just done carrying the shame that never belonged to me. I still don't understand how someone can sit across from your pain, pretend to hold it with care, and secretly enjoy being the reason you're falling apart.
Follow me for more stories.